Hi there folks, my name's NovaWing24 and welcome to another review of an X-Plane 11 product. So today we are having a look at a new release from a fairly new developer. We're having a look at the AG-4 eVTOL from developer AeroG Aviation. Before we get too far into it, let's just say thank you very much to the team over at AeroG Aviation for providing me with the review copy of this one today. Today, of course, we are in X-Plane 11, 11.41. We are here, and we're going to be doing a little bit of a flight today. We're here at Plum Field, here in New England. Now, the AG-4 eVTOL. So, what is an eVTOL, I may hear you ask? Well, if you are a follower of my channel, you may have seen my review last year of the other product which AeroG sort of produced for flight simulation, which is their UV4 eVTOL. So basically, AeroG are a company that have this really cool idea of actually doing of electrically driven aircraft using ducted fan technology in the real world. And then to do that, they showcase it off in the flight sim world. Their first couple of products came out for the ESP platforms because their first concept was for their UV or the UV4 concept, which is a cargo carrying drone. Basically, think of it like a FedEx delivery thing, or like the Amazon delivery drone, but on steroids. And then they also proposed like this sort of commuter, sort of air taxi sort of version, which takes passengers, has a crew, is piloted. Same basic design, just a little bit bigger. Same basic design and same basic concept of having the 4 tilt rotors. So they started off working for the ESP platforms. They started moving their way into X-Plane 11. They brought their UV4 over last year, and then right at the end of the year, they came out with this one here for the AG-4. So this is going to be a bit interesting to have a look at this one. As I said, like I haven't had a look at any of the X-Plane content. I'm hoping to cover. I do have a copy of the UV4 that he passed me, so I will be looking forward to reviewing that in the near future. But yeah, this gives us a chance to have a look at what their next sort of advanced concept is. So what we're going to be doing today, we're going to be doing a pretty standard format that we do for our reviews. We're going to be doing our beautiful rotational view here, looking around the outside. Thanks very much to all my viewers who said I need to slow down my orbits around the outside of the aircraft. So thanks very much. We're getting this beautiful, slow, leisurely cinematic rotation thanks to X camera. So we're going to go do the out here. We're then going to have a look at the office. We're going to start the aircraft up, and then we're going to be going on a short flight. As I said, we're currently here at Plum Field, and then we're heading off to Minuteman Airfield. So here, which is a dual pack you can pick up from Orbix from the I Blue Yonder team. Right, okay, so enough about what we're doing. Let's actually talk about this aircraft. So, it's a little quirky, a little bit weird, this one, because it's not real. It's a concept. It's a proposal. It's a patented concept. Like, it is a patented design. And this very much is sort of them sort of going, this is what it could, this is what it would look like. This is what it can do, and sort of showcasing it off. So in terms of flight simulation things, okay, so as I said, this is their second X-Plane 11 product. For this one, so they haven't done the UV4 previously, as I said, but it's very similar, basically the same kind of concept, but with a couple of minor differences we'll see shortly. The model's fairly basic. I mean, I can't really say too much about it because it's fictional. Or it says semi-fictional aircraft. I can't really say much about it. The one thing I will say about it is that they do support PBR texturing, which is great. However, this really high chrome finish with this reflectivity, although it doesn't hit the frames, it just looks ugly. Like, in a way, it's a really great technical. So sort of rounding out here, you can actually see a live reflection of the scenery beside it, which is great. It's a great showcase of the technology. But you can see it stuttering and jumping, even though the camera is this beautiful, smooth transition. The actual reflections are very jumpy and are very disjointed, which sort of spoils the effect a little bit. So I feel that and would this aircraft actually have such a high gloss and high reflectivity on it? I kind of question whether it would. So there's that. Otherwise, as I said, it's got the sort of short stubby wings. We've got the quad rotors, and then we've got the sort of standard twin tail at the back there. It does have flaps built in, which we'll go through as well once we sort of take off and we get into flight, and we'll talk about in our landing. for a bit more stability control at lower speeds. Not to be used for takeoff though, apparently. But yeah, we'll get into some of the challenges of that as well. But there you go. So that's pretty much it. Of particular note though is that as we orbit over the top here, you'll see these sort of dots along the top here. They're going to be very important, and I'll talk to you about why once we get in and get the aircraft powered up. I think it's actually a nifty kind of cool idea on how to represent actually the going into the possible future of how we as passengers see the world around us when we're traveling. Alright, enough of me waffling on as we rotate around this aircraft. Let's step into the cockpit and get ourselves underway and get the engine started, and let's get ourselves started up and having a look at the office. Alrighty, here we are in the office, and I'm not going to pull any punches here. For a payware aircraft, this is flat out not acceptable. It is not. In any way, shape or form is this acceptable for payware quality. We're charging $30 US for this. That is unacceptable. Straight up, flat out, not even going to talk about it. Yeah, okay, we're going to go through as to why, but it's just, I'm not, you just, no. So let's start here for let's make a start with the rudder pedals, shall we? So right now in my sim, I am sliding the rudder left and right, nothing. I'm depressing the brake pads, nothing. Not moving, nothing at all. Like they're just literally, they are textures pasted to the floor. What the hell? That's first problem. Second problem is we're going to go over here and we're going to have a look at this. So this is our comms stack, comms and nav radio stack. So that is a very ancient set of Bendix King stuff, and that's a pasted on graphic. It's no 3D knobs, no 3D model, no 3D copy. It is literally just a pasted on graphic that you can then manipulate. For a glass cockpit aircraft, one, that's out of place, and two, pasting a texture on and using that is not acceptable in any way, shape, or form as payware. Freeware is fine. As I said, I'm a freeware developer myself. I've done a couple of aircraft overhauls over the years. I have used this before, but I've acknowledged it and said, yep, okay, because it's a limitation of my skilling, but I was giving the product away for free. So, no. As payware, no, absolutely not. Next up, we've got, okay, so this part's kind of cool. So this is AviTab. So it has an AviTab integration, which is great out of the box. So the AviTab sort of fills up the space here in the center. That's great. So if you have the AviTab plugin, it's there. If you don't, it's just a blank space. That's fine. And it allows you to sort of bring up sort of any maps, charts, stuff that you pre-program as per the AviTab instructions. And you can also open up the manual if so desire. And we're going to get to the manual because I want to talk about that because that's not cool either. That's just no. Right. Okay. Next, we're going to have a look at, okay, so like center console controls here, we've got, okay, so we've got a couple of, levers and that's it. So you assume that these drive the throttles, right? Okay. So interestingly enough on this, now my assumption is, and I say an assumption because the manual doesn't tell me squat, is that one of these drives the front lift fans and one of these drives the rear lift fans. That's fine. So right now, however, they seem to be controlled like equally by both. And it's sort of like there is just no rhyme or reason here. Like I have my front rotors, front rotors bound to my left throttle. I'm running a Hotaz Warthog, and I've got the rear rotors round to my right throttle. And if I try and move one separately from the other, nothing happens. If I move them both together, like all we get is a bit more movement on that. I'm like, what? But again, as I said, the manual, actually, let's take an opportunity to have a look at the manual, shall we? So, okay, let's go through. Let me just go through into that. Okay, so manual, right. The manual is not a manual, it's a sales brochure, bottom line, is what it is. It says flight manual, but it's really not. it goes through, it talks about the preface, okay, that's fine, great, installation, yep, okay, no worries. But in terms of actual things about what it is, okay, so it devotes two pages, 2.5 pages to the AviTab plugin, which is all they've done is they've taken the AviTab manual from the wiki page and just dropped it in here. That's it. That's it. Not how to use it, just how to put the maps in, which is on the AviTab manual. That is not your place as an aircraft add-on manual. If you support AviTab, that's great. Direct people to the AviTab manual to figure out how to use AviTab. Like, just straight up. Pre-flight checklist. Where's the checklist? Like, okay, there's a list of things to do, which we'll go through in a moment, but that's it. Taxi operations. Rotate the rotors, the vectored rotors. Rotate them 15 degrees. How? It doesn't tell me how. Okay, so every other add-on I have ever used, and even real aircraft, have images of the cockpit, and then little labels pointing out what everything does, what everything is. That is nowhere to be found in this manual. Now, we have these sort of checklists here, okay, but they don't really tell us anything. So, for example, it's just as required, role access. It's so generic, and it's so not what is needed. Is bottom line what it is. And it talks about, and this one, personal bugbear here. So they talk about Super Cruise, and I'm like, this thing goes supersonic? What the hell? So Super Cruise is a very common term. It's been around for about 30 years now, which is the capability of an aircraft to cruise faster than the speed of sound without using reheat, or afterburner, if you don't call it reheat. That's what Super Cruise is, right? Super Cruise capability. But Super Cruise, apparently, these guys are trying to redefine Super Cruise by calling it the ability to, turn off the rear rotors, the rear ducted fans, turn them off while in cruise flight and fly just on the front ones, and that pushing air over the little winglets, so you actually keep lift. Which is great, the fact that you can turn, you've got more efficiency of flight, blah, 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 that's fine, but that is not Super Cruise. Call it something else. That is Super Cruise. Sorry, guys, it's already been taken. And it's just arrival checklists, and it's just so limited about what information is in there. It is so limited, but nothing about the avionics, nothing about the systems, what's in there. It's just this generic sort of. It's a sales brochure. It talks about why it's important to use electric instead of fossil fuels, which I 100% agree. I believe the future is electric, but the manual in air quotes is a sales brochure. It's not a manual, so it's just no. Right. Anyway, okay. So the other key point, as I said, going back to the point I said about the fact that there is no cockpit explanation diagram. So there's this other lever right here, right? Okay, what does this do? I have no idea. So I thought it was parking brake, if I was honest, to start with. And then I'll try to figure out how the hell is the ducted fans. How do they change pitch? Because they should have a 90-degree range of motion. But nothing. Eventually I figured out that this is what controls the ducted fan. Okay, cool. But what's the axis they're tied to in the sim? The manual doesn't tell you. Eventually, through trial and error, I eventually figured out that it's tied to the thrust vector axis. However, it has its issues all of its own, which we'll get to once we get into flight. And then more textures over here. So this is supposed to be like some knobs, actually like physical 3D knobs. And again, it's just pasted on textures on the glass cockpit. So, not impressed. Another thing, fuel. So this is an eVTOL, electric engine. It has batteries. It doesn't have fuel, which actually, let's actually bring this up, because that's actually an interesting, that's also something else I want to show. Yes, here, edit weight and balance. This is a problem. This is a problem. So this is telling me that the empty weight is over 10,000 pounds. Like, what? like, what? So that's scary. What's the thrust, like, ratio on this? Like, seriously, what the hell? And you've got this fuel tank thing, and it basically gives you not a number, because obviously there's no fuel in it, because it doesn't use fuel, it uses electricity. I get they have to work within the constraints of the flight sim, I get it, and that's going to pose problems like this, but you're telling me this thing weighs 12.5 ton max weight? Like, what the hell? So, yes. Anyway, and again, as I said, like, and that's none of the information, like, you know, max takeoff weights, minimum takeoff weights, V speeds, VREF speeds for approach, for changing from horizontal to vertical flight. None of that is included in the manual. Just none. There's a half-assed mention that you have to be below, you have to target below 20 knots indicated to transition to full vertical height to hover. But there's some other issues that happen with trying to turn the lift fans. Just, there is. Oh, sorry guys. Like, I've spent days trying, like, test flying this, and it boggles my mind. Okay. Alright, so, one thing I will show off is that, which, actually, I'll show it off once we've got the power on, actually, because you get bigger advantage here. But there's the crew, there's the cabin behind us. We've got our 10 seats in the back there, 5 on each side. Cabin exit door there, which, is very quick. I feel like that's a little too fast. I think that should be a little slower, because it's like, what, 2 seconds, and the door's open? So, yeah. I don't know. Again, a fictional aircraft, so I can't, semi-fictional aircraft, so I can't really comment too much, but it just doesn't seem right. And then if you don't want to look into the cabin, you can click here and slide the beautiful wood paneling doors closed. Alright, but we shall leave them open for the moment. Alright. I think I've got most of the bugbears out for now. I think I can breathe again now. I'm just like, it just frustrates me. Okay. Alright, startup. So the startup checklist, as I said, I'm kind of memorized this one by now. It's fairly basic. And again, that's fuel. We do not have fuel. What that actually is, folks, is that's front ducted fans on, rear ducted fans on and off. That's what that is. Anyway. Okay, so let's start. So we're going to have, so our first thing is we've got 4 batteries in this aircraft. So we're going to power all 4 of those on first. So that brings up the first half of our avionics. Next up after that is we've got our generators 1 and 2 come on, and our avionics come on as well. We're going to put our strobe light on before we start turning anything on, and put the inverter on as well. So, avionics setup, basically, you've got the default Garmin G1000 out of X-Plane. So that's pretty much all we've got there. We're going to be doing a little bit of a joint here. As I said, we're going over to 6B6 today for a quick flight. It's only, what is it, about 30 miles or so it's not too far. And we're going to get some problems about that as well. Okay, so that's pretty much that. So what we're going to do now is we're going to, I'm going to put the brakes on. As I said, there's no parking brake. There is no parking brake in this aircraft. Anyway, okay, and then, and you might also notice there's something missing from the sides of these G1000s. Anyway, alright, so let's go with the lift fans on. So you turn them on, and then you have to move the throttles forward slightly. And we hear them power up. And we'll just switch to an outside view. See that, hear that beautiful sound going on there. And there's this issue, is that you seem to have this thing, is that when you turn the lift fans, when you rotate them, they seem to actually sort of like get powered down as they pass through that. There's a gate between 0 degrees and about 15 degrees where they just cut out. Which is really awkward when you're doing vertical flight, just saying. Right, there we go. Glad you guys got to see that. Okay, alright, let's get back in the cockpit and let's do a taxi for this one. So you can see, although, and this is the other stupid thing, is that although you can see that the fans are on and working, apparently they are not on anymore. So it's just, the core functionality of it is bugged. Okay, so we'll wind the things back down for a minute. So we'll just go through the center console here, panel here as well. So we've got engine readouts here. These seem to mean very little. Like, you know, we saw that we were redlining before, and yeah, nothing. It doesn't seem to mean anything really, because we'll see it as when we take off shortly as well. Fuel, again, it's like this gauge is just a freeway gauge they pulled from somewhere else and just dropped it in. Don't know if that's true or not, but it's like that means nothing. Flight controls, so again we sort of got a sort of rudder, aileron, which doesn't really have one because it's all about the moving the ducted fan, and the elevator there. The trimming seems to be automatic. The trim response is, it's there but not very good. And then we've got a 1 position set of flaps with the 3 position indicated up there. I was going to move those up because apparently we're supposed to use we're going to do a stall takeoff, and then we're going to try and attempt a vertical landing and once we get to our destination. Alright, next we've got our hydraulic page, which is like ram air turbine on, which I'm pretty sure ram air turbine should only ever come on when your electricity system fails and it pops out. So I don't even know if this aircraft even has a ram air turbine. Again, complications of an aircraft being semi-fictional. And then a failure tab, which by the way doesn't work. Even when you break stuff, which I've done in the previous video or previous test flights, nothing changes on this, so it seems to be non-functional. Alright, I think that's it. I think I've yelled at it enough for now. Let's taxi out to the runway and let's do a stall takeoff. So we've got our lift fan slightly turned. Unfortunately, there's no indicator, which is the big problem. There is no indicator in the cockpit other than like the position of the handle as to what your lift fan's doing. That should appear somewhere else on the digital cockpit. Alright, so let's taxi out. Brakes on. So I'm going to move the lift fans. So that's the thing that, oh there you go, I can use this to show you. So if we just slide through one of the views here, so you can actually see, this is what I was talking about, when I was talking about those little things on the outside where you have the little knobby jobs. Basically they essentially are meant to be cameras, so that they project onto these LED screens inside the cabin to actually so you can see outside. So there's no windows per se, it's all a projected view, which is really kind of cool. And also, as I said, the only way you can figure out what position that your lift fans are actually sitting in. Right, okay. Now that I've shown that off, let's get ourselves out of the way. Okay, so what we're going to do is we've got those lift fans set to that angle. I might do a little bit more. Actually, that's about the limit that they have, so let's do that one for this one. Okay. And again, when you try to move it and maneuver the things, it just loses power there, which is a serious bug when we're going to try and do a vertical landing later. Okay. Winds calm. Throttle up. And I really don't like it when things go out when I'm on the takeoff roll. Alright. Positive rate. Gear up. We're going to aim for a bit of a low-level flight for about 1,000 feet, and follow a GPS course. Now, the other thing I want to, we passed about 2,000 feet we're aiming for. we'll move to our 90-degree aim. Alright. So we see it's just a bit of a finicky thing to fly, that's for sure. Now, so what we might do is we're going to try and put the autopilot on, but as you can probably see, we've got a bit of an issue in terms of the G1000 and the autopilot because you can't actually see any of that information. You have to actually click on it to bring it open to actually sort of get everything going. So what we're going to do is we're going to go autopilot on, vertical speed, let's go down. Altitude capture. There we go. Okay, so basically there, and let's go to nav. I overshot the nav point, so we're going to have to turn around that. Now, on that, as we were just talking about here, so as I said, like you can't see, like you have to pop open that to be able to use any of that. Now, normally, this is my other problems about, as I say before, there are no speeds like given in the manual, so you don't know what your correct operating speeds are supposed to be, or cruising speeds or anything like that. You have no information about what they should be. So I have no idea if I'm nearing overspeed or not, because the yellow starts at 170 knots and then just goes from there, and I'm like, that seems like a little low for cruise speeds, and I'm like, so where am I supposed to cruise at? There is no information about it. I do know, however, that we're supposed to be able to shut down the rear fans and just run on the front fans. So what we're going to do is I'm going to bring that down and we're going to turn that off. And what's weird is that with the rear fan off, my speed shoots up. Like, it just blew through an extra 30 knots, and I even backed the front fans throttle down, and we blew through an extra 30 knots. Like, what is this nonsense? So, yeah, I don't understand. I don't understand what's going on with this business. Alright, while we let the GPS fly everything for a while, let's, do I have that on GPS? Yeah, I do. Okay, so we're going to leave that on GPS for the moment. While it does that, we're going to have a quick look at the outside of the aircraft while we do that. Alrighty, so we can see that we've got the rear ones shut down, and the front ones are happily turning away. So, now, according to the limited thing in the book, that does say that apparently when you shut the rear engines down, is that it's supposed to then feather the prop, so it just sort of sits there in windmills. The prop isn't feathered, I'm just going to say that. But anyway, moving on. So yeah, but at least it does shut down and just sort of just windmills there. I'm pretty sure it should be windmilling faster. There is supposed to be lighting on this aircraft. There's supposed to be nav lighting on the tails, the strobe lighting top and bottom, the beacon lighting top and bottom, and then there's landing lights in the forward winglets on the ducted fans. The only lighting you can apparently control is the beacon. However, none of the lighting works. So, yeah, that's not cool at all. Like I should be able to see that beacon right now, and I can't. That's a problem. It's a mess. It's just a mess. Oh, actually, I do want to correct that. Again, one of the kind of things, if it's true, if it's real. So, see the little FLIR turret there at the front there? Or the little turret, the sensor turret at the front there? So we'll just jump back into the cockpit for a second. So that is this display down here. Now, unfortunately, it's not on when it's a shift pop-up, when it's a pop-up window. It's only on there when it's built into the display here. But the idea of it is actually really, really good, because it actually gives you a forward look. You can have then, you could, in theory, put overlay a sensor on that, so you could land in bad weather and stuff like that, which would be great. but unfortunately you can't replicate any of the sensors in it. It's just got just a camera. So again, one of those things. Nice idea, just not doing it very well. We're doing 290 knots just on the front fence. So anyway, so yeah, there you go. That's. I can't. All right. Okay. So we're a few miles away now. We're gonna leave it in cruise for the moment. So yeah, we're a few miles away. We'll leave it in cruise for a moment, and then we'll pick this video back up as we approach. We're going to attempt a vertical landing, and we'll see how the transition goes when we start turning these fans back on, because my test flights prior to this have been, shall we say, entertaining. So we'll see what it does on video. So let's rejoin this video in a few minutes. Alright folks, as we close in on our destination, I just want to point this out as well. What's going on with this? So we've got fuel flow, RPM, fuel quantity, which is apparently full, and then manifold pressure on G1000. I mean, seriously guys, it's an electric engine. There is no combustion. Why do we need manifold pressure? It just, I get reusing assets. I don't have a problem with it, but just do it when it's appropriate. This is not. Okay, so what we're doing here is, this should be interesting here. So we're a few miles out, so what we're going to do is we're going to re-engage our rear fan. Now, watch the airspeed here. So I've backed off the throttle on the front one a little bit. Start the rear one, and watch that airspeed just plummet. Like, what the hell? I'm maxing the throttles here. I'm going to disconnect the Autopilot. And literally you just lose everything. And I'm like, what is going on here? Like, this is just absolutely ridiculous. Alright. So we just run over the airfield here. And I'm just literally fighting the controls here at the moment. I'm trying to bring back, trying to tilt the fans a little. Okay. So I'm trying to bleeding off some airspeed. Airfield over there. Apparently we get better stability if we lower the flaps, so we'll do that. Right. See, I have no idea what the gear extension speed or gear retraction speed is supposed to be on this aircraft. And apparently we've lost the fans. Whoa! So that was when I was below speed, I was on speed, and I was attempting to transition to the vertical. Yeah. So apparently, there you go, according to my crash information, there was a flap extension speed limit. That's interesting. Good. It'd be nice if the manual had told me that. That would have been nice. So, I think that along with that little sample of trying to do a vertical takeoff and convert into the into forward flight, I think pretty much sums up everything I need to say about this aircraft. I really, and I feel this is Groundhog Day for me, because I'm pretty sure I said something very similar during the UV4 review, which was the idea behind this is great. Using flight simulation to showcase a brilliant idea for engineering the future, for a great concept that I feel is going to be the future of aviation, is a brilliant idea. However, how it's being executed and charging money for this is, quite frankly, this is unacceptable. The modeling internally is unacceptable. The texturing, the lack of actually using pasted on textures instead of actual 3D modeling of cockpit instruments. I have no problem with them repurposing the Garmin G1000. I have no problem with that. I have a problem with the fact that you lose the functionality, the ability to actually do anything with it unless you click it and bring it open as a 2D panel. The fact that there's no information, the manual is a sales brochure. The manual is not a manual. That is a sales brochure that is pitching at investors for people to buy into the idea of the real thing, which is fine, but it is not something you do to a flight simulation enthusiast and something for our hobby. That is not acceptable. I feel that, if anything, this company has gone backwards since the UV4. They took none of the lessons from the UV4. There are lessons to be learnt from the development and their selling of the UV4 product. They've now doubled the price of the add-on by putting it when they produce this AG-4, and it performs worse. It doesn't even fly anything close to correctly. It is a shocker of a performing aircraft, and it looks terrible. That's unacceptable. Just flat out, it is. So I acknowledge and I thank AeroG for supplying me the review copy of this, but I cannot, under any circumstances, endorse this product in its current state. This is not acceptable. I genuinely wish the company all the best. I hope that their real one is far better than this one, and I genuinely hope that they see this review and the other reviews which I believe are out there that left comments that have identified the same problems that I've got, and are actually acknowledging and saying you need to fix this because this is unacceptable in its current state. So there it is. Done. Do not 0 stars. Do not recommend. So thank you very much for tuning in on this rather entertaining first review of 2020. My name has been Overwing24. Don't forget, as always, to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy these videos and want to see more. And of course, as always, you can catch up with me and all the things I'm up to between videos by finding me on Facebook and on Twitter. Just search Overwing24. Alright folks, thanks very much for watching. Take care, safe skies to all, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.